Let's talk about why sheep are better than cows for beginners and homesteaders. Especially hair sheep. There's things you have to do like shearing and hoof trimming, docking tails, and other wool breeds of sheep. And I'm not all that familiar with them. I've only been raising hair sheep here. This is my 4th summer with them now. But with the hair sheep, you don't have to trim their hair, shear them. If you're not feeding them grain, you don't have to dock their tails, trim hooves, or anything like that. They pretty much, on that standard, they kind of take care of themselves. And again, to cows, most people don't have a lot of acres to attempt to raise their family meat on. So as much as we love the cows and want them ingrained with the cows and raise them, if you've only got 10 acres or 20 acres and you're a beginner, you don't know how to rotationally graze, you don't understand what that animal is going to require, you really should stay away from cattle. They are, you got, depending on the cow, you could have a 1,500-pound cow out there that you don't know how to control. That's going to take thousands of dollars worth of equipment to be able to keep pinned up. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. If you go buy your cattle from somebody that's been doing electric netting or been doing polywire, those cows, and rotationally graze, those cows, they're not going to be wild like that. They know what the system is, they understand it. But you go buy any old rancher's range cow and you're just asking to get hurt. Also, you can buy more sheep for the price of that one cow, especially the last 2 years. A good ewe in my area is anywhere from 160 to 250, depending on how many head you buy, where you buy from, what time of the year. And that's what people are selling as a breeding ewe. Obviously, if you get better genetics, it can be more or less. It just depends on what you're doing. But you can buy, this year, you can buy 10 head. You could buy at 250, let's say at 200, let's take the middle. At 200, you could buy 10 head of sheep to raise on your homestead instead of just one cow. Now, why do I want to diversify and have more animal units out there? You never know what life's going to throw at you. And if you raise animals, it's life. Things are going to die. Things are going to go wrong. You could take the best care in the world, and you could do the best care there is. If a lightning strike hits, it can take out your cow, a bad storm or bad flood. You don't want all your meal prep and your idea of this is where all my meat's coming from on one animal when something like that could happen. And again, if you're a beginner, you don't know animals, hair sheep are really quite simple, especially if you've only got 10, 20 acres. If you take the time, you invest in a good perimeter fence, and you take a couple of weekends and you do it yourself, it's not going to cost you too terribly much. But it will help you be able to run the livestock without the chance of them escaping or anything like that. This one here is our newest one. We're good to let them out. But if you do then invest in good fencing to start with, so you don't have to get that phone call at 2:30 in the morning saying your sheep are out on the highway. It's our responsibility to make sure the animals that are under our care are being cared for and are safe. We don't want them getting out on the highway. Sheep stay in a big bunch. If they get out on the highway, dark corners, dark highway, you're going to lose a lot of head of ones. But if you do it right and you get that perimeter fence taken care of, you can keep your animals kind of rotationally grazed around. You'll learn what it takes, the basics of caring for the animals, and then later on maybe move into a cow or two. But cows for beginners are not something I'd recommend. You want to know how to raise livestock first. So sorry for all the wind noise. The smoke's kind of getting to me today. They got those big fires up there in Canada. It's not doing very good for anybody. But that's why we raise the hair sheep. And in the long run, if you get into good enough flock and you build it up, most years, cows have been out competing the sheep the last 2, but most years on average, the sheep are going to do better than cattle as far as your return on investments. Now, I'm not saying someday don't raise a beef. Everybody should try to get as much food as they can ready for their freezer and all that good stuff, but definitely save up your money. You'd be better ahead saving up that money for the first year or 2 as a homesteader and buying a half or even a whole cow, but that's already been processed. Do it that way. Go to a local rancher that's raised them, and that way you know the meat's in the freezer, and then all you got to worry about is the electricity going out on you. But it is a very big investment either way, to buy a cow alive or dead, but I'd much rather buy a processed one at the moment if I was starting out than try to get one that's alive and I'm not set up for it and I don't have the pins. I don't know how to work the animals. You run a very big risk of getting hurt, especially if you buy some from wild ones. Now my sheep here I've got down, we're netting at the moment, but I do have them trained to 2-wire, and that's what they're going to be going into here. And at the moment we got this next pen set up for them. You know, there's not that much investment here on the cost of entry for sheep. You buy the sheep, if you're a rotational grazer, you're going to buy the step in and poly wires anyway, but you don't have to have the big metal corrals that it takes to run those cattle. Cows take a lot of room, they eat a lot of feed, they drink a lot of water, and they can be quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with them. So let me see what my brother's ready to move these or not. It's the funnest part, letting them out to new grass. Worst part is when all these little guys are young like this, they don't know what they're doing, so then they just run around. My livestock dog, you don't know what to do with all these little ones. He's trying to be gentle with them. Well, he don't exactly know what to do. He knows he can't be too harsh, so he's confused. But there we go. Got them drifted in. So they're going to be happy for a while. Want to make sure that the spool utensils on the right side, so they don't chew on the free reel that I get from my local farm store. That they sell rope and stuff off those. It's one way to be frugal. You ask them for their reels like that, and then you just put an end on it. You can use a drill. So, all right, these sheep are moved. I gotta finish putting up the electric box, and then we'll go do some cows or horses, one of the two. All right, well, just got done moving a few head of cows. Some of them got the dairy cows moved yet, but got the bull and the steers, and there's one heifer out here. And then all these are rams. So, yeah, just got done moving them. They're happy about it. They have been causing an issue about getting out of my netting here lately. But for the most part, you know, we can keep them in netting and it's not too big of a concern. Every once in a while they'll go on a walk on you, but yeah, so now you can't throw cows in that have never been around netting or been around high tensile electric polywire or electric fence at all. They'll just walk right through it. I mean, this isn't a very big deterrent. It's just a net, like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,100 pound cow. I mean, this is nothing. So electric fence is a mental thing, and they got to be taught to it that they don't want to touch it. And she's been the only one that's been staying in lately. I do have these cows trained down to a single polywire. It's just easier with the rams because I do not have them trained to that yet. And out here, because I don't have the $800,000 it would take me to completely build the perimeter fence like I'm needing, I'm having to do it in sections. Out here, they get out. They can roam a long ways. So we do our best to keep them hot, keep them fed, keep them happy. You know, if we keep them on the good feed to where they don't really have to test the fence, they're not really gonna. So that's the goal of electric fence and rotational grazing. It's a mental thing, but you gotta keep them happy. If you force them to eat down to the dirt all the time, they'll get out. Like this here, it's got a little bit more than I wanted. It was a smaller pin, just how the layout of this hill is. It ended up being a smaller pin. This actually was a day less. I moved them a day faster than I would have if it would have been the same size pin that I've been having all spring. The next move, I'm gonna have to pull them from here and go that direction with them, up towards top of a hill. Now on top of that hill, that grass isn't gonna be very tall, and I'm gonna have to move them that much faster. It's one of the fun projects of adaptive grazing and rotational grazing, is you gotta understand where your grass is at, how fast to move them, how slow to move them. If you're in an area that gets a lot of rain and you know you can count on your regrowth every 45, 60 days, this would be totally wrong. You wouldn't want to have done what I just did here, because this is too far on. Once you take more than 60%, the grass is going to have a very hard time to regrow. But being here in central Montana, basically got a 90-day growing season. And it doesn't really matter what I do, I'm not getting a second graze. It kind of looks green down here in this bottom, and that grass is only 4 inches tall. If it rains, accidentally, I might be able to run across it again, but then that's just going to hurt it for the next spring. So no matter what I do out here, it's a one and done graze. I don't like to take it down this far, but it's a drought year here. I hate to say it, it is. The hay fields are basically nothing. The grass has sure gone backwards here in the last 10 days, so yeah, it's gonna be a drought year, so I gotta just kind of hold them back and let them eat what they eat. Get out here in the fields and cut what I can cut for hay and decide what we got to do from that point on. But that's tomorrow's problem.